घर पे दिवाली होती थी तो हमें, मुझे और मेरी बहन को, दीदी को, नए फ्रॉक्स हर दिवाली पे मिलते थे। तो हमारे पीछे मोचियों का मोहल्ला था जिनको हम मोचिस्तान कहते थे बचपन में। तो वो भी रेफ्यूजीज़ थे, राजस्थान से आए हुए ड्यूरिंग 47, मेरे पैदा होने से पहले के। और वो आकर के मेरे दादाजी ने उनको पीछे बसा दिया था कि आप लोग यहीं रहिए, कहाँ ढूंढेंगे, और ठीक है, यू नो। सो दैट वाज द एनवायरनमेंट। सामने एक तबेला था, डेयरी थी, गाय भैंसें, अब भैंसें होती थी, नॉट बफलो डेयरी थी। और मस्जिद तो बिल्कुल घर के से सटी हुई दीवार थी मस्जिद की। और सामने बाज़ार था पूरा, स्ट्रीट, द स्ट्रीट वेयर आई ग्रू अप। सब दुकानें, एक सरदार टेलर की दुकान, द्वारका की दुकान, गुडियों वाला जो काइट सेलर था, और हर तरह की, मतलब द होल, आई हैव डिस्क्राइब द होल स्ट्रीट, आई हैव डिस्क्राइब द होल एटमॉस्फेयर। यहाँ पे मैं एक दिवाली नाइट की पर्टिकुलरली थोड़ी, आई विल ट्राई एंड रीड अ लिटिल बिट। द डे ऑफ दिवाली, इस बार हमारे जो सामने सरदार टेलर थे, बूढ़े थे, उनको मामा ने 2 फ्रॉक्स सीने के लिए दिए थे। एंड दे वर सपोज टू बी ऑफ अ वेरी ब्यूटिफुल ब्लू कलर। और मामा हमेशा मुझे और दीदी को आइडेंटिकल फ्रॉक्स पहनाती थी। मेरे लिए जो बनता था दीदी के लिए बनता था, जो भी, हम दोनों के एक ही जैसे कपड़े होते थे। तो आई कम टू द, वो उन्होंने वाइट मसलिन निकाला और रंग वाले के पास गई, जिसको मैं कलर सिंह बोलती थी। तो कलर सिंह के पास जाके बोलती, ये वाला ब्लू चाहिए। वो उन्होंने मैगजीन से दिखाया, उन्होंने कहा ये वाला चाहिए। तो वो आ गया और सरदार टेलर को दे दिया। वो दिवाली की नाइट है, वो स्टिच हो रही हैं, शाम हो गई है और पूरे नहीं हुए हैं फ्रॉक्स, अभी भी उनकी हेमिंग वेमिंग चल रहा है। The day of Diwali, I was very excited. Every now and then I'd run to the thada to check if the frocks were ready. Day turned to evening and evening came to be night. But this Diwali night, the frocks did not get stitched on time, though the darzi stayed up till late, working on them, little blue strips scattered all around him. Both Didi and I waited. I remember we didn't light up patakas that year. We simply waited on the thada for the tailor to finish sewing on the hooks and buttons and hemming the sleeves and collars so that we could get to wear our new frocks before the night was over. I walked up to the terrace and leaned over the edge, looking down at the mochi dwellings. How beautiful their homes appeared, lit with oil lamps, the sound of their nightly dholak more rigorous, the singing more intense. The mud houses glowed with freshly coated walls and the white powder motifs painted on the thresholds and around windows. The scene looked like it was out of a picture book. Yet, despite the lamps and the rangoli and the music, there was something sad about this Diwali night. On our terrace, we had not lit a single candle. As the night wore on, the festivity around us began to fade. The firecrackers that had lit up the sky a while ago, creating a fantastic backdrop for the white minarets of the mosque, had dwindled to a handful of flashes here and there. Children around the neighborhood had finished bursting the last of their crackers for the night and were now going back inside their homes. This was the quietest Diwali for us girls. Both Didi and I were quiet. Mama stood at the thada with us, sharing our disappointment. All the iron and wooden shutters of the shops on our street had clanked shut, a finale to this Diwali night. We came back inside the house, time now to change into our pajamas, get into bed. This Diwali night was gone forever from our lives, uncelebrated. Suddenly, there was a knock on the phatak. Without pausing to think, I ran to open the main gate. I perched on my toes to push up the iron latch so the small gate could be released open. In my heart, I knew whoever was knocking on our door at this hour could only be God sent. Sure enough, there he was, the old Sardar Darzi, standing in the dark, his face frayed and tilted to one side, both his arms stretched out. My eyes lit up at what I saw. Our very own Messiah, his grey beard and white turban glowing in the light of the street lamp. The Savior himself. The Savior himself. In his hands he held 2 hangers on which hung frocks of the most brilliant blue I'd ever seen. The old tailor's face had a faint smile of regret and benediction at the same time. I looked at the frocks and then at him. Didi came up behind me. There we were, 2 little girls, misty-eyed, gaping at the old man who stood Jesus-like, blue color dripping from his palms. Mama quickly changed us back from the pajamas into our new blue frocks. That Diwali night, we were the last 2 girls up on a terrace, lighting firecrackers, invoking the gods, illuminating the dark skies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, this is what writing. देखिए, when you start to recall, you'll be surprised how many details you can recall, how many details come back, the sounds, the smells, the way the light used to fall on the dome of the mosque from our terrace. When my father he had a habit of reading at night, तो छत पे सोते थे रात को और आसमान की तरफ देखते देखते वो ड्रीमी वही सब, तो वो जब लाइट ऑन करते थे तो डोम पे कैसे लाइट पड़ती थी. I mean, I don't need to tap very hard to recreate those things because I lived with that all my childhood. So we can have some questions from you people if anybody wants. Where are the young kids? They're all gone. अपना prize उठाया और गायब.
Yeah, before we ask the question, I'm just going to ask one more question which I've been dying to ask.
Yes, please
so
do.
there's a part, so your parents, your mother and your father are definitely...
My mother was a painter, father was the writer.
They're definitely the protagonists of this memoir. Yeah. There's a part of, there's a section where you've written about your mother. She loved acting, she used to act in plays. Yes. And there was a time when your grandmother,
my dadi,
she told, the women at the women's conference say that your daughter-in-law does dramas.
Drama करती है.
And then I will just read out this paragraph which moved me. After that day, said Mama, I stopped. I never did another play, never uttered a word to my mother-in-law. I just silently gave up everything. I was not aware of the impact of that finale in my mother's life, for she never showed any bitterness. But I know what that sacrifice must have meant to her. This was a woman who dreamt of becoming an actress and called herself the beauty queen of Bengal. Today, as I live my life as an artist, I realize the gravity of those words. I silently gave up everything. What impact did this incident have on you?
It's still... very hard.
I'm sorry if I...
No, it's okay. I can only imagine what my mother must have felt giving up her dream. To give up your dream is the hardest thing, I think. To just give it up without fight, to not be able to realize जो आपने सोचा कि मैं अपनी लाइफ को ये बनाऊंगी, उसको ऐसे ही छोड़ देना, उसको बिल्कुल जाने दिया, और ये तो मैं फायदा ही नहीं कर सकती. I mean, I felt that no, I'm going to realize that dream of my mama. I'm going to be the actress in the family. I'm going to take to acting and I'm going to be the face on the screen. और ये सब लोग जो यहाँ मेरे साथ बैठे हैं और रो रहे हैं, कभी हंस रहे हैं एक्टर्स के साथ, एक दिन मैं वहाँ पे होंगी ऑन द बिग स्क्रीन और ये लोग सब मेरे साथ जुड़ के इमोशनली रो रहे होंगे, हंस रहे होंगे, and that will be my connect with the audience. That was my dream, and it all comes from Mama.
We can take some questions.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. And
Good evening.
this question is, three chapters in your book, the titles were very fascinating. One was My Imaginary World.
Yes.
The second is Floating with Future. Floating with Future.
Flirting.
And the,
yes.
And the
Flirting
third
with
one, most interesting, is Elbow Crusade.
Elbow Crusade, yes.
You very boldly you have admitted how this
हाँ,
Eve teasing and
Eve
molestation.
teasing को
Yes.
हम लोग कैसे
Yes. My question, after so many years, you wrote about your childhood. This was happening. This still happens in India.
Yes, worse.
And the strategy you adopted, that Elbow Crusade you have written,
Yeah.
you have also put it in your movies also, how women fight against Eve teasing.
Yeah.
What's your message for the current youth?
See,
How to protest?
See, it's so hard. That's such a tough question. Because हम लोग वो time फिर भी simpler time था. The boys used to tease you. They would blurt out words that you didn't want to hear. You know, as you passed by, वो सड़क से निकलते थे, तो साइकिल पे कोई, some boys कुछ बोल देना, कुछ हाथ मार देना, ऐसे निकल जाना. And those used to be traumatic at that time. तो आज देखिए आज कितना crime against women है. आज कितना बुरा हाल है. आज women are not safe. Women are not. हम लोग तो किसी तरह से हम लोग ग्रुप अप करके भी एल्बो क्रूसेड क्यों है उसका नाम. किताबें जब पकड़ते थे बस में जाते थे तो किताबें ऐसे नहीं पकड़ते थे. इधर से कोई हाथ आ रहा है, कोई इधर से, कोई यहाँ से आ रहा है. So we used to hold our books like this. We used to keep these guys at yes, that's why it is called elbow crusade. ऐसे किताबें पकड़ के चलना पड़ता था, because you have to keep these guys away. And that was so pathetic. It was so sad for our society. Girls were always looked at as, और पंजाब में तो नॉर्थ में तो ये बहुत होता था. I was relieved to see when I came to India कि वो वाला element साउथ में नहीं है. People don't always look at you with this lecherous eyes and वो नहीं, वो सब जगह नहीं है. Men are not like that everywhere in India. They are not. But Punjab में it was horrible. So growing up in the Punjab at that time was horrible. और आज आप देखिए everywhere we are having, it's a worst condition. There's so much, it's now violence against crimes of violence against women. And अब तो सीधा, I mean, if you're caught up in a situation like that, you will hardly survive. You will hardly come out of this alive. You'll probably get killed and thrown somewhere. So it's very sad.
Yeah.
We have a question from Sudhir Babu.
Good evening, ma'am. I always wanted to meet you in my city, Bhubaneswar.
Thank you.
Because you were in my school days in 80s, you were the Deepika Padukone, Shraddha Kapoor or Pariniti Chopra at that time. So, did you see the new Chashme Baddu, the sequel?
No, I don't want to.
That's why I wanted to ask you. So, how you feel the new Bollywood without Deepti Naval, Farooq Sheikh and Smita Patil and all that? How
it can never be the same Chashme
Yeah,
Baddur. It can never be better also.
So don't you feel to ask the Bollywood chap not to remake of the classics, we should not go for a sequel?
देखिए किसी को बनाना है तो रोक तो नहीं सकते हैं. उनको fascination है किसी फिल्म से and they want to interpret it their own way. लेकिन वो impact कहाँ है?
नहीं, आज अगर साथ साथ बने तो आप किसको देखना चाहेंगे लीड रोल में?
नहीं, मैं ये सब सवाल मैं सोचती भी नहीं.
Just for a thought.
बहुत सी लड़कियां आज तो देखिए आज the younger actors, they are so skilled, they are so competent.
Right.
कि आज के ज़माने में youngsters जब हम सेट पे जाते हैं और सारा young crowd होता है, assistant director, young लड़कियां, camera assistants, young लड़कियां, इतनी सारी लड़कियां सेट पे होती हैं. It's very encouraging. हमारे टाइम पे सिर्फ हेयर ड्रेसर होती थी लड़की, बाकी सब मेल क्रू होता था. और हम लोग थे जो एक्टर्स थे, जो उसमें जो फीमेल्स थी अपना अपना रोल करने के लिए जो आई. क्रू तो सारा मेल होता था, सिर्फ हेयर ड्रेसर जो थी वो लड़की होती थी.
So दो सब ये तेरा घर ये मेरा घर.
It's brilliant.
दो लाइन आप गा लें. ये तेरा घर ये मेरा घर.
It's very good. It's very healthy. The atmosphere is so healthy right now. I wish I was younger now.
दो लाइन गा लीजिए. ये तेरा घर ये मेरा घर.
क्या?
ये तेरा घर ये मेरा घर,
क्या
गा लीजिए.
गा दूं? नहीं नहीं गाना गाना नहीं.
Good evening, ma'am.
कोई और गा दे. हाँ
Good
जी,
evening,
गुड
ma'am.
इवनिंग, गुड इवनिंग.
I watched your movie Katha in
Katha.
83 in Delhi.
जी.
So I heard about the movie and I repeatedly watched it for 5 times
हाँ
in a
yes.
month.
ऐसा हुआ है उस जमाने में कई कुछ
तो-
लोगों के साथ. यस कुछ.
So I have no questions to you. I have no questions to you, but I want to know from you.
हाँ
I have two things to know. One is that कि we are born in village countryside and we grew up with Panchatantra stories. So my question is, did Panchatantra stories ever influence you in story writing, or does it influence you these days in story
No, I
writing?
didn't. I never read those stories. See, I went to a convent school. तो वहाँ कुछ और ही पढ़ाते थे, सिखाते थे. पंचतंत्र was never part of our books. नहीं था. वो बाद में मुझे पता चला. बाद में मैंने समझा कहीं कुछ बाद में. But in school life, no, there was no Panchatantra. There was. We read the life of Gautam Buddha, and we read of course, the British history and the Mughal period also, and then the Indian kings and everything. वो history में पढ़ा. लेकिन महाभारत, रामायण या ये नहीं. मेरे जो दादा थे वो उपनिषद पढ़ते थे.
लेकिन जो कथा में आपने रोल किया है ना, वो I think that is based on
Yeah, it is one of the stories. Yes.
say,
of
hare
course.
and tortoise
Hare and the
stories.
tortoise. Yes.
As my next question to you is that as an art form, music, Bollywood music and lyricists and movie stories of movies. So which one actually has influenced you a lot? Any lyrics?
Lyrics of songs.
Any singer or any music director?
जी शैलेंद्र साहब जो लिरिसिस्ट थे, उन्होंने बहुत गहरा मतलब असर छोड़ा हम पे. बिकॉज वो जो गाने लिखते थे, गानों से हमें पोइट्री में शौक हुआ, इंडियन पोइट्री में. एंड आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग फैज़ अहमद, फैज़ गालिब एंड साहिर लुधियानवी व्हेन आई वाज इन कॉलेज इन न्यूयॉर्क. क्योंकि वो गानों से वो आई एम अ बिग फैन ऑफ इंडियन फिल्म सॉन्ग के जो लिरिक्स रहे पहले के. मैंने बहुत कुछ उनसे सीखा.
और एक चीज बताना चाहता हूँ.
So
Sahir
we have
साहब से.
other questions.
हाँ. Anybody else wanting to know anything? Yes, there's a boy there. जी माइक दे दीजिए पीछे.
दीप्ति
माइक
जी.
पीछे. हेलो पीछे दे दीजिए.
दीप्ति जी, मैं कुछ बोलना
एक
चाहूंगी.
सेकंड माइक पीछे दीजिए. वहाँ पे दे दीजिए माइक प्लीज. हाँ एक सेकंड आपके पास आ जाएगा वापस. क्विक क्वेश्चन. हाँ. एंड नॉट 2-3 क्वेश्चंस प्लीज, जस्ट वन.
Good evening, ma'am.
गुड इवनिंग.
Ma'am, allow me to ramble a little because I've been manifesting this for a long time now. Meeting you has been a dream. I'm a student and I study films as a hobby, and I'm
Yeah.
an ardent follower of your work. Ma'am, when I watched some of your work, Panchvati, Thoda Sa Asman and Saath Saath, I saw a very common pattern. That was, like an artist trying to weave a life with someone who is a little more capitalistically inclined. जैसे साथ साथ में
साथ he becomes he loses his idealism.
Yeah.
He gives up his idealism for earning money.
Yeah.
And that's where she gets disillusioned with him
Yeah.
and says, this is not the man I married.
Yeah. And
है ना?
even in Panchvati.
Panchvati mein, yes. Panchvati was very one of my favorite
Yeah.
roles. I
Yeah.
love that role because
And-
it's about a woman who has her quiet inner strength. She doesn't need to get off, leave one man and latch on to the next. She just goes into her own world and she wants to go back to her Thanka painting in Nepal and she wants to bring up her child on her own.
Yeah. And ma'am, even in Thoda Sa Asman, we somewhere see a shade of this. Even though I would say that your character Nashi,
Huh.
she, again, I would like to say that it was very riveting to see a portrayal like Nashi's in that time, where you also talk about this subtle form of domestic violence, which is not very obvious. Ma'am, I
Not
would like to
tackled.
ask you, has this ever played a part in your life? Like, where did you find the inspiration to sort of like merge these two things?
From the women that I've known closely. I've known their stories. I've used whatever, wherever, whenever I've felt strongly about some situation with another woman, I've always decided to कि ये मुझे कहना है, ये मैं ज़रूर कहूँगी, ये मैं किसी तरह अपने काम में इसको लाके I must write about this. थोड़ा सा आसमान was written by me.
Yeah.
All the three women come from real life women around me. अनु का जो कैरेक्टर वो मैं हूँ. Somebody who is putting up a fight कि नहीं मुझे अपना ड्रीम फॉलो करना है, मुझे नहीं शादी वादी करके सेटल होना है, मुझे अपना ड्रीम फॉलो करना है. I want to become an air hostess. I want to stand on my feet. I want to be financially independent. Nashi was a very close friend of mine. उसकी जो मैरिज थी वो थोड़ी इस तरह से थी जो मैंने डिपिक्ट की है. एंड नादिरा आपा का जो कैरेक्टर दिखाया है वो एक न्यूज़ आइटम, एक न्यूज़ थी न्यूज़पेपर में about how a woman found out that the husband all 40 years had another woman in his life and she lived in Patna, in Pune, and only when that woman dies does the wife come to know कि इनकी एक तो एक parallel life थी. So she says, now I will not be able to live with you. Now that he says now she's gone. She says, yeah, but now for me she's come alive only today.
Ma'am, can I also extend this question?
Bas,
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, can I say something to you?
Yeah.
Please, ma'am, one thing that I would like to say is, ma'am, I would like to thank you for believing in your work, because by believing in your work, you have, and by doing the kind of work that you have done, you have inspired so many of us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
saying
you
that.
so much.
That means a whole lot to
Thank
me
you, ma'am.
also. यहाँ दीजिए कुछ, यहाँ कोई किसी का सवाल था एक. हाँ सुषमा जी. हाँ बोलिए.
दीप्ति जी नमस्कार.
नमस्ते. हाँ.
स्वागत है भुवनेश्वर में. मैंने एक छोटी सी नज़्म लिखी है. आपका जो रूहानी सौंदर्य मैंने जाना है, गुस्ताखी है, तो पढ़ सकती हूँ आपके ऊपर.
अच्छा पढ़ी.
ऊपर अनंत नीला आसमां, नीचे हरी भरी ये वादियाँ, देवदार के, एक्चुअली आपने एक फोटो पोस्ट की थी, उसको देख के मैं इंस्पायर हुई.
ठीक है.
ऊपर अनंत नीला आसमां, नीचे हरी भरी ये वादियाँ, देवदार के पेड़ों के बीच धरती के दामन का हुआ है रंगीन गुंचों से सुंदर श्रृंगार. मुक्त हस्त से नवाजा सौंदर्य, ऐसे हसीन नज़ारों के बीच ये कौन परी चेहरा दोशीजा, बैठी हैं यहाँ पत्थर पर यूँ खामोश ख्यालों में गुम. देखने पर लगती हैं मुझे रब के हाथों से निर्मित एक हसीन महज़बी रूह, कायनात की खूबसूरती को जज्ब करती हुई आँखों में, कुदरत के हसीन नज़ारों को अपने दिल में उतारती हुई, ज़र्रे ज़र्रे में बिखरी रूहानियत अपने आगोश में समेटती हुई, ज़हनी तौर पर जो पहले ही हैं बेहद अमीर, अपने प्रशस्त ललाट की तहों को रूहानियत से और भी लबरेज करती हुई. ए रहस्यमयी सुंदरी, आप कौन हैं?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All good things must come to an end.
Thank
We will
you.
end with this final question,
Thanks all of you. Yeah.
which
अच्छा,
you've been
is there
waiting for a
question?
very long time.
Okay.
This
बताइए.
is Vibhuti. I want to ask you one thing.
माइक ऊपर.
Hello.
हाँ जी.
हाँ. In 1990,
हाँ.
what is your memory with A Sangharsha in Odia film?
क्या? हाँ.
यही संघर्ष ओडिया
Yeah,
फिल्म.
yeah. बस वो मेमोरी यही है कि लिखा हुआ डायलॉग रट्टा मार लेती थी और पहले अंग्रेजी में समझ लेती थी कि मैं कह क्या रही हूँ, और फिर उसको उड़िया में वो वर्ड से वही जो एक्सप्रेशन जहन में था कि अच्छा अगर अंग्रेजी में बोलूँगी तो ये एक्सप्रेशन आएगा, एक्सप्रेशन को बरकरार रख के सिर्फ वर्ड्स को बदली करके बोल दी थी.
And do you think that the present day
First time I had come to Odisha.
Okay. Do you think that the present day censors board is more politicalized
मुझे
in
नहीं
film?
पता, पता ही नहीं है, पता ही नहीं.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was
Thank
a
you so
lovely,
much,
lovely
Deepti ji,
having you
for-
all and interacting with you all. Thank you so much for coming here.